Good morning, Liberty. Today is March 24th, 2021. I'm Jack Duke.
And I'm Mike Ciccarello.
Today we're going to start with a few national news stories. On March 11th, 2020, the novel coronavirus was declared a pandemic by the World Health Organization. 2 days later, President Trump declared it a national emergency. It is March yet again, which marks approximately 1 year since the COVID-19 pandemic completely changed the way we live. Over the past year, more than 538,000 people have lost their lives due to the virus. Finally, there seems to be a light at the end of the tunnel. Recently, President Joe Biden stated that there will be enough vaccine doses for every adult by the end of May. The vaccine will allow things to reopen, gatherings to be safer, and life to hopefully return to near normal.
Recently, an intelligence report was declassified by the Biden administration revealing Russian interference in the 2020 election. The report implies that the interference was intended to influence former President Trump's chances in winning, as well as undermining the U.S. citizens' faith in the democratic process, to loosely reference Avril D. Haines, the director of national intelligence. A debate had been proposed by Vladimir Putin in response to Biden calling him a killer, but the idea was shut down.
Moderna begins vaccine trials for kids under the age of 12. Earlier in the week, companies around the world announced it would be enrolling approximately 6,750 pediatric participants in the U.S. and Canada ages 6 months to less than 12 years. Virginia-based mom and history professor Brooke Newman immediately jumped at the opportunity to volunteer her 10-year-old daughter, Simone Smithers. Smithers' daughter said she hates needles but is eager to help. Parents are eager to participate in this new trial, hoping that their kids will be able to show kids that it isn't really that bad.
Speaking of COVID, let's take a look at what COVID has brought to neighboring businesses.
COVID-19 has impacted many projects and plans entrepreneurs have had to open up new businesses. So what exactly is it like to open a business during the pandemic? A prime example of this would be the sub shop that opened in the middle of the pandemic called Hot Shot Subs.
So when we decided to open up the sub shop, the pandemic had not reared its ugly head yet. So I had already found a property and entered into a lease, got all my licensing, and so there was no turning back. And so as we were building out the store, building the interior of it, as you can see behind me, that's when COVID came out about a year ago today, in March. But we were well into the business, and so there was no turning back, and we could only go forward. And so it was challenging because of all the restrictions that the state put on restaurants for opening and limitations. We just had to wait it out until we could open and work through the COVID restrictions. You know, we put the word out that we were interested in young people coming to work for us. And we got some great employees come to work for us. And so that wasn't that hard whatsoever. Now, some of the more experienced employees, yes, we had to wait to get the right people in there. But as far as the general help that we got here, we've been in business since July 15th, and a great majority of our people are still with us. And so that kind of makes for a good working atmosphere. And we did slow down a little bit because of COVID over the winter time, and so we had to lay off some of our employees for the winter, but we're going to be getting them back as you know. And when Great Adventure opens up, we expect business to increase greatly, and so we're going to bring back our staff.
Now let's see what some of the employees think about working here.
Working experience has been good. No complaints. Some things are better than others, but that's what could be expected with every job. But yeah, it's fun when you're constantly going, even though it can be a little aggravating, but time flies by like this, and that's what I like. It's better than just sitting around doing nothing.
Honestly, I would say this is probably the one place that it actually is like a full teamwork. Like everyone really helps. Like if some person's having a hard time, there's at least one person that is coming up to that person and saying, do you need help? Are you okay? Yeah. So that's the amazing part about this. Very positive, happy. I actually like coming to work. Yeah, that's it.
The pandemic had a collateral effect on many things. For one, business. people lost their jobs. They were laid off, and so therefore they can't spend money on things that they would normally spend money on. They're worried about paying bills and putting food on the table, not traveling and going out to eat. Second thing was the restrictions that the state and health departments put on restaurants scared people. I mean, this is a very serious disease that we're encountering worldwide. And so every day was a new day on how we got through this. And now this year is a new year. We're seeing that the vaccinations are out. People are a little more comfortable with going out and wearing their protective masks. And so we expect business to increase greatly over last year. But business last year for the small businessman was a disaster. And so it really hurt business.
So overall, while business hasn't been that great for the place, it's important that everyone working there work hard and well together and push through the pandemic. And hopefully when COVID starts to die down, business will finally start to thrive as it should. I'm Alex Gablix, reporting from JTV. Stay safe, everyone.
First things first, what a stash. I've never had their subs. I've heard they're pretty good. What do you think?
Yeah, I've had it a couple times. They are pretty good. They're really, really big, but they're really good.
Interesting. Might have to try it out. The Jackson School District staff members have officially received their COVID vaccines as of Wednesday, March 17th. Those willing to get the vaccine are preparing for the full return of all students, which is expected to be sometime after spring break. The follow-up shots are also scheduled for the days following spring break. In many cases worldwide, people who have received their second shot have reported feeling extremely sick for several days. Fingers crossed that all our teachers will feel just fine upon returning to school.
Moving on to school news. Creativity and imagination have had a big impact on kids' lives during this difficult year. Let's see what our teachers have to say about that and what creativity and imagination mean to our school. Sam Diamond logged this story.
Albert Einstein once said, "Imagination is more important than knowledge. Knowledge is limited. Imagination encircles the world." Being creative doesn't take an IQ of 140. It only takes your imagination and what you do with it. Jackson Liberty High School offers so many opportunities to explore your creativity and what you do with it.
So, a lot of the assignments in my class in graphic design, creativity can go anywhere. So when you ask how far can it go, the assignments are designed broad and open, so you kind of take it where you want.
There's a lot of ways you can be creative. You can be creative in the combination of ingredients that you use. It could be as simple as making cereal and what toppings are you going to put on it. Is it going to be fruit? Is it going to be nuts? It could be really anything. So you can be creative with ingredients. You can be creative in your execution, as far as maybe using different pans, or in the recipe itself, you can just execute it. Instead of making a cake, you can make cupcakes. So there's a lot of creativity in the execution as well.
There are a ton of ways to be creative in an English class, aside from the given, which is usually when I give assignments that have the students be creative with poems, narrative essays, things of that nature. I try to use a lot of artistic projects as well, but even critical thinking, there's a lot of creativity possible in an English class there.
So creativity comes into play in graphic design because, the way I see it, creativity is problem solving. And especially in graphic design, when you have a particular message you want to send across, or a point you want to make, or just to communicate with others, you have to figure out that problem to solve. How am I going to design some things to other people? And in order to create, you have to have new ideas and innovative thoughts and kind of push what's been done before.
Yes, you can definitely use your imagination in cooking, especially if you have a basic knowledge of a lot of skills. You can start to change recipes, use different ingredients, like your specific ingredients that you like, and there's always the decoration of it. So baking, you see a huge amount of imagination in how people decorate and the shapes and colors and everything that you use. It really can become much more of an art major.
Kids at Jackson Liberty High School are using their imagination to do so many amazing things, from cooking to English class and graphic design. There are so many outlets you can go to use your imagination. There is no one way to be creative. There is an unlimited amount of opportunities to create amazing things. You just have to find it. This is Samantha Diamond reporting for JTV.
Yeah, Sam did have a really good point. I'm in graphic design, and I know that's one of the most normal classes I have this year for sure. What about you?
I had Miss K in nutrition, I believe it was called. That class was pretty fun. I mean, you get to make food and you get to eat it, so
Of course,
what's bad about that?
You know, Jack, I heard that prom is still not decided if it's happening or not.
I also heard that, Mike, but I did hear some recent news on the matter. Despite recent rumors of the fate of this year's senior prom, the event is still set to take place June 4th at Ocean Place in Long Branch. However, the most recent concern about the event, mainly among the underclassmen, is whether or not students outside of the senior class will be able to attend. When questioned at the Board of Education meeting last Wednesday, Superintendent Nicole Pormilli reminded attendees that the decision to limit prom to only the senior class is solely based on New Jersey's outdoor gathering capacity, which is currently only 50 people. While the district is hoping that the maximum capacity will only increase throughout the next few months, they are only obligated to follow the state's guidelines in regards to who is currently allowed to attend the prom.
Final exams are coming up, and this year they're going to be like never before. If we have them, because of COVID, things are going to be a lot different this year. Usually there's days of preparation and anxiety and rooms full of students writing away on their test papers or typing on their Chromebooks. Not this year. This year finals might not even happen at all. Last year when COVID first hit and took us out of school, there were no finals at all, and everyone was happy. This year we might be the same since half the school is totally remote, and it would be difficult and a huge ordeal just to get kids to come in and take unnecessary tests. They might do it like they did with the PSAT and have a few people in each room, but that was just sophomores and juniors. Finals would be all 4 grades, and it would take a lot more time. In my opinion, it's not worth the risk and the stress, but who knows what'll happen.
Moving on, what's happening in middle school? Some great news for them. Hybrid middle school students are now advancing to a 5-day in-person instruction starting March 22nd. The date is tentative depending on if COVID cases rise. School times will be following the shortened day schedule with a lunch grab and go bag at the end of the day. Switching back and forth from in-person and synchronous will no longer be allowed unless the student is ill or in quarantine. Safety protocols will remain the same, such as face mask covering, social distancing as much as possible in school and on the bus, no sharing materials, and cleaning protocols. There will also be limited mask breaks because of the less social distancing, and daily health forms will still have to be filled out each in-person day. After not seeing the other group for over a year, finally both groups can come together and learn in the same building.
You know, honestly, I'm pretty excited to see how it goes with the middle school because I feel like that's kind of depending what happens with us. And I'm really excited to go back to full year school and full in-person.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, personally, this is just me. I feel like I learn better in school than at home just because when you're in school, there's not many distractions around. But when you're at home, you have your TV, your phone, everything like that.
Definitely. A passion for music can lead to a career in life, or at the very least, a cool creative hobby. Let's see what music has helped with during this time. William Bryce logged this story.
In the middle of quarantine during the COVID-19 pandemic, David Noodleman started to create music under the name 4647, and he has made many songs since. How long have you been producing for?
I've been producing for a little bit over half a year, about 8 months, and I've been using exclusively just FL Studio for it.
What made you want to start producing?
So me and my friend Kevin, we made a joke album in like 2020 during quarantine because we were just being bored and we thought it'd be funny if we just made an entire album. So Kevin started making these beats and I started trying to rap, you know, even though neither of us were good at either of those things. And I realized that making beats was kind of cool. Like, it was kind of cool that you could actually make something like that. even if Kevin's beats weren't the best, I thought it was still pretty cool that he could make something like that. So I downloaded FL Studio, just the trial version. I started making beats, and then I've been going with that ever since then.
What is your favorite thing that you've worked on?
My favorite thing I've ever worked on is probably a song I made with this rapper Kodiak. It's called 46 Disses. I would say that beat is just the best thing I've ever made, in my opinion.
Like game, go fish, real and hold this. It can you go find mark up the whole list. All I've been told this, scratch that golden list. All I've been given is more problem, more test. Say less, matter of fact, say more. Need that. Matter of fact, bring it back.
What are some of your inspirations in your music?
Just other producers, Madlib, MF Doom, Derringer, B-Pusher too.
Who's someone you'd like to work with in the future?
If I have the chance to, I would really love to work with Griselda, anyone from there. More producers too, like Derringer, Big Ghost. Probably someone like Ono Capono too, like lesser known artists as well. Just some like my personal favorites that I think would fit something that I make.
David has become more and more involved in his music and has been improving over his time making beats. With the improvement in his skills, there will definitely be more to come from 4647 in time.
That kid, what a beat. I mean,
Yeah.
he picked up a hobby, and I mean, he seems like he's doing a good job so far. Personally, my one hobby I picked up over quarantine, it's a little lame, but I picked up some fishing, went outside, you know, things like that. What about you?
Yeah, no, in the beginning of quarantine, I was actually fishing a lot every morning. But I started learning guitar. Now I play guitar. I'm pretty good at it.
There you go. The middle school is really making the best of this situation. Let's see how the Holman Elementary School is doing. The Holman Elementary School is having a fundraiser running from February 12th to May 15th. It's a plant sale at Ciccone Farms. There are over 257 different plants to choose from. Shopping in person or online are both options. The code Holman Spring 2021 will take 10% off the order online. In-person shopping will not include the 10% discount. Another 10% will go to Holman Elementary School. Both curbside pickup or delivery are available.
Many people have been struggling during the pandemic. Students of all ages who are athletes still found a way to stay involved in sports. However, there is one group of students, performers, and actors in particular who have truly been locked out of their passion. One local business has done its part to keep that passion alive. Allison Rosofsky logged this story.
The pandemic alone has created a lot of negative chaos that our world will continue to work around. For actors specifically, challenges such as taking classes and working within them has been proved most difficult. Let's take a look at what Actors Playground in Freehold, New Jersey has done amidst these COVID restrictions.
Challenges that we've had to face because of the pandemic, in order to keep social distancing, we've had to limit the amount of people that we have coming in. We went from being able to have 2 classes at a time to now we can only have 1 class.
I can't be as close with my partner and really feel the same connection. It's harder to get to that emotional point.
Especially in a business that requires people to be really open towards each other and really connected with each other, having to constantly have people at a distance with each other has proven to be a bit of a challenge.
Acting wise, like just being on stage and getting to act with more than one person, I think too. It used to be like you could have as many people up there as you wanted.
So the restrictions that we put in place in order to keep the staff and the students safe is as soon as somebody walks in the door, they immediately have to get temperature checked to make sure that they don't have any sort of fever running. And if the temperature checks out, then we have them sanitize, and then they go into the classroom. In between each of the classes, we wipe down all of the surfaces. Anything that people basically touch or use will get sanitized with disinfectant wipes. And then we just make sure that we keep everyone distanced out from each other. When we have people out on stage, we kind of broke the stage part into sections so that this way people can maintain a certain distance away from each other, and all the chairs are spaced out so that there's distance among all the students at all times.
With the masks, everyone is kind of getting used to it. We are wearing them at all times, even when you're acting.
Some of the good things that have come out of the restrictions put in place because of COVID has been teaching me how to find my way over new obstacles, especially in acting. It's just like this has thrown something entirely new at me, and I've learned how to cope with it and learn different ways to get closer to an emotional point without being right there with my partner.
Artistically, in a business where people have to connect with other people and basically react off of each other and read intuitively how other people are feeling, not being able to see 50% of a person's face definitely poses a challenge, and seeing people focus in especially on really learning how to read other people's body language, learning how to read other people's eyes without having to rely on people's facial expressions, I think has helped to show people other ways to build connection than just relying on that momentary instinct of I see this in your face, so that makes me think and feel this certain way. I think in terms of helping people to find an outlet to deal with the situation that we're in right now, because I don't think there isn't a person exists that isn't frustrated with the way things are right now. But giving people an outlet to be able to find some semblance of normalcy in their life, to find an outlet to be able to express the way that they're feeling, their frustrations with this, but also find a way to incorporate it into their artistic expression, I think has been a really positive thing that we've been able to do.
A lot of students couldn't afford to keep coming because everything that was going on. And we kind of implemented a pay what you can policy. I think because we did that, it made other parents that were able to afford it be like, I want to help out even more. The support we got from the parents was like incredible. I'm just like proud of everyone in the community here for just like, I don't know, coming together and just like supporting each other, and it's just been amazing to see.
As you can see, Actors Playground has done all they can to help guide and support their students during these scary times. I'm Allison Brodowski reporting for JTV. Remember to do what you love, but be safe doing it.
It's just incredible that they have managed to stay open during all this. I mean, it was just different because they got hit hard and
Yeah. Performing arts were definitely hit the hardest, because like sports, they definitely found a way to keep things going and stuff, but performing arts, was kind of put to a halt, and I'm glad that they're doing good.
Moving on to pro sports stories. It's a sad time in the NFL because Super Bowl winner Drew Brees has officially retired from the NFL after 20 years. Drew stated in an interview with the Today Show the reason why he chose to retire. He stated a thumb injury and also being a more involved parent with his kids at home. Gauging all of those things, he felt that it was time. Personally, I grew up watching him. He was in the league before I was born, and then he's just retiring now, and what a career.
Yeah, no, it's definitely crazy. My mom, she's actually a Saints fan. She loved Drew Brees, and she was actually very sad when he announced he was retiring. Last week, the Champions League round of 16 wrapped up with the teams of Real Madrid, Manchester City, Chelsea, Liverpool, Borussia, Dortmund, Paris Saint-Germain, Bayern Munich, and Porto all advancing to the quarterfinals for the first time in over 16 years, as well as Cristiano Ronaldo and Lionel Messi will both not be in the quarterfinals as their respective teams, Juventus and Barcelona, were knocked out of the competition by Porto and PSG. Each team will have their eyes on the prize this year, whether it's Bayern trying to defend the cup since winning it last year, Man City looking for its first European Cup, or PSG looking for revenge from being beaten in the final last year. This year's Champions League will have it all, and it's really a toss-up to see who will win the infamous trophy.
Since trading for All-Star James Harden, the Brooklyn Nets have had the best record in the entire NBA. The trio of Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving, and James Harden has not played much together due to a hamstring injury for Durant, but in the meantime, Kyrie Irving and James Harden have been almost perfect without Durant, winning 15 of their last 17 games. During this stretch, the Nets have flirted with the 1 seed in the Eastern Conference, but are just 1 game back behind the current 1 seed, the Philadelphia 76ers. With the recent signing of Blake Griffin, the Nets look to add another solid player with a great resume so far in his career. Blake is a much-needed power forward for the Nets. With Kevin Durant returning to action in a week or so, the Nets have the potential to be the most talented team of all time if the team meshes well.
Now it's time for us to check in with Liberty Sports. After a year of not having spring sports, Jackson Liberty High School athletes are finally getting the long-awaited season they've been waiting for. Volleyball kicks off for Jackson Liberty High School in the early spring of 2021 this year. The seniors are ready and eager to play after their season was initially pushed back to February. When asking Chelsea Ross, 6-foot middle hitter and third-year varsity player, what she's excited about for the season, she enthusiastically answered, "To have fun and enjoy my last year of high school volleyball before my college career begins." Ross is committed to play Division II volleyball at Georgian Court University this fall. Jackson Liberty kicks off their season with a win versus Jackson Memorial and takes Pinelands to 3 sets but sadly loses. Liberty comes back with a win versus Marlboro and is continuing on with their Jackson pride.
After losing their entire 2020 season due to COVID-19 shutdowns, the Jackson Liberty boys lacrosse team is growing anxious in preparation for the 2021 season. For the first time in team history, fully remote practices began on March 1st. On paper, the team will need to rely heavily on underclassmen, with only 6 seniors returning. In addition to the challenge of overcoming a small senior class, the Liberty Lions will face some powerhouse lacrosse schools this season, such as Wall and Manasquan. Some players to look out for are seniors Gian Labasi, Javon Villas, and Christian Santana. The Lions have an intriguing freshman class that features Paul Capozzi, Peter LaBianca, and Matthew LaBianca. Also, keep an eye on sophomore Matt Ramondi.
The girls' swimming team is in fact taking a pause from the season. They're quarantined for 2 weeks due to the coronavirus exposure in their team. The boys are still working diligently with difficulty in their season. Also, they're trying to push forward and keep their season in play and overcome the girls' postponing by pushing harder and swimming. They will have their last meet of the season on March 22nd, 2021. Also, they will only play for 7 more days until the season's official conclusion. They have been practicing in Steiner High School and the YMCA. Hopefully they get back strongly.
And now it's time to check in with our resident expert on everything, at least in his own head. Here's Chris Koshy with this week's Koshy's Corner.
You know what I've been thinking about recently? A little while ago, there was this groundbreaking interview with Oprah.
You can tell her.
No, good for it.
No.
It's a go.
You're gonna have a daughter!
Wow.
Now in it, royal runaways Harry and Meghan alleged some pretty serious claims about racism that should not be taken lightly. That's not okay. But what's interesting to me was the backlash and fallout afterward. If you go to Twitter, which you never should, you'll see hundreds, if not thousands of people coming down on Meghan and Harry for sharing, coming down on the Queen and her family for being racist, and somehow Oprah mingled her way into the mix, either as a villain or a hero. Either way, she made a lot of money off the interview. You see people talking about how they're going to throw out their Kate Middleton wedding planning book, and you wonder, why? Why did you buy a Kate Middleton wedding planning book? Who writes Kate Middleton wedding planning books? Why are there so many of these books? And then you start to see a bigger issue. Obsession. For a family that we don't personally know, we care an awful lot about them. And this isn't just a British problem either. We all watched more than 10 years of Keeping Up with the Kardashians. Why? So I guess the takeaway is, whether you think Harry and Meghan are liars, or the Queen and her family are racist, or Oprah is a shill, you can think that one's allowed. It's okay to have weird hobbies and interests. There are people out there who unironically collect snow globes, so you should be allowed to like the royal family, and buy books about their weddings, or 50 books about their weddings. But obsession is always dangerous. The more you idolize someone, the more you're going to be let down if they're not who you thought they were. That's what I've been thinking about. I'm Chris Koshy, and I love Harry Styles. See you around.
Thank you so much, Chris, for that interesting and entertaining editorial.
Well, that's all for our show today. Tune in tomorrow for more stories and more news. I'm Jack Duke.
And I'm Mike Ciccarello, and we'll see you next week on the News Desk. So long.